So it's great to have you here, Dana. It's been a while since we talked.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I'm glad you wanted to come back. And I'm sorry that you can't meet Greg. Greg's a great guy. He's the one I meet with every week, and we just started having a guest last week. Um, so he's on vacation this week. He lives in Florida, and I said, where do people in Florida go on vacation? I don't understand it. Oh, you're in Florida. I forgot about that. You're still
Yeah.
in Miami?
No, I'm not in Miami. No, I went a little bit further away from there. I grew up in Miami, though. I'm glad I'm not there anymore.
Where are you now?
Further north. Yeah, just further north.
No, Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, Greg lives in Tampa, so I don't know why I'm talking to you about that because you're in Florida too.
You know what? I don't remember the last time I actually went away on Thanksgiving, but this is a time, I guess, when you would associate that as an up north holiday. So I know a lot of people probably do go back up north for that.
Yeah, certainly. And I guess, and you know what? I live in New York, obviously, in upstate New York, and I don't even mind a warm Christmas, but Thanksgiving is definitely, to me, it's a nice fall-ish, upstate New York type of holiday. So I am glad to be here now. So,
Yeah, me too.
yeah. Had some snow today. So.
Oh, wow. You guys have been having some winters over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, last year, February, maybe we talked about this when I talked to you on the podcast, but February, the average temperature was 11 or 12 degrees for the whole month. Terrible.
Nice.
But today, those are the times I hate, but today, this is hunting season right now, deer hunting, and, that's the only time I hunt. But I was out there this morning, and, I mean, the snow, the big flakes are coming down. It was absolutely beautiful out there, so I loved it. Good time of year. Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
So Dana, you've got your book.
I even have it in front of me so people
perfect.
could see what it looks like.
That's an awesome thing. And I really think a lot of people need to start when they begin exercise and read that stuff to realize that, there's some stuff that, people always say, talk with your doctor, check with a physician. But really, exercise can be dangerous if you're not careful, especially, when we get up to, my age and people decide all of a sudden to jump right in and they go too hard.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, it's funny too, because until I had gone to Fitness Institute, you pop these DVDs in and it's like, oh, consult with your physician, yada, yada, yada. And you fast forward through that stuff and you're like, all right, what am I about to get myself into? You don't even think about checking with the physician. Mm-hmm. And even if there isn't a medical condition there, I mean, the stuff I put in the book has to do even with people who might be in generally healthy condition. So it's, I put that together because there were things in regard to exercise that even I wasn't aware of until I sat through 360 hours of Dr. Abbott's courses, and I didn't know that you shouldn't do things like chew gum and exercise. Mm-hmm. And that you could choke to death. I was working in a place where they actually had a little cup of gum sticks, and it was a little fitness facility. I don't think that they knew either, and I'm thinking, I was just told that people can and do actually choke to death on their chewing gum when they exercise. I can't allow this to sit here. I would take the cup and put it under the counter, and I'm thinking, if you're going to choke, I mean, I'm capable of saving you, but I'd rather not be in that position. Another thing I had written about, and I think it's a good topic to bring up because we're going to go into the new year, and people go into the new year and they, again, with that giant mess that they want to try to clean up, whether it be weight in general or just what had taken place over the last couple of months over the holidays. And they think, I got to get this weight off. I feel horrible. I'm going to do this program. I'm going to do this high intensity program. And well, that might be fine for somebody who's conditioned. Mm-hmm. But if you're not conditioned and you're a beginner, then you need to exercise like a beginner and condition yourself appropriately and progress yourself appropriately, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So that is something that I did mention in the book. It's all very simple stuff. It's not a sexy topic, though.
So I know it's not the topic people want to talk about or read about when they're first starting out, because they're all going home already. But like you said, even for me, I mean, I've been exercising. I'm almost 50 now. I've been exercising since I was 12 or 13 years old. And I mean, there's still a lot of stuff. And there's one thing I wanted to ask you about too. back during the podcast, you had talked about, cool downs are important, and people can actually drop dead if they don't cool down properly. And I'm certainly, even now, even after we've talked about it, I'm guilty of not cooling down properly. But can you just go over that, about, the need for a cool down and what happens if you don't cool, or what can happen if you don't cool down properly?
Yeah, what happens is the blood can pool to the lower extremities of the body and result in something called blood pooling because it's not making its way back up to the heart through the skeletal muscle. So when you have been in the middle of a high intensity exercise and you just suddenly stop, it all pulls down and it doesn't make its way back up. So people can, and actually have, I discussed a couple examples even in one of the chapters of the book. They've experienced sudden cardiac arrest and drop dead.
Oh, so what do you consider a proper cool down? And is this just after, I do a lot of the high intensity training. Is it just after the high intensity, or is it after a weight workout? Or
I would do it after any of them. Yeah, if your heart's been elevated, then your best bet, I mean, even walk it off for a few minutes. These are people that, might have left their exercise class to go take a phone call. I mean, an example is a man had gotten off the treadmill or gotten off an exercise machine. He went to go stand and talk to his wife who was on the treadmill, and blood pooling happened to him, and he died. So it's one of those things that, and even if you don't die, I'm not going to say that everybody will die, but it is possible.
Potentially dangerous, yeah.
Correct. It will happen usually more with older people, and I can't say what actually constitutes as an older person. But even if you're younger, you might pass out. So what's to say you don't pass out and hit your head on something?
Right. Absolutely.
So that's why it's important. And warm up is important for the same reason. You got, well, not for blood pooling, but because you have to get your body used to the exercises. You have to train your heart, to get used to the load that's about to be placed on it. So, you wouldn't get in your car when it's 0 degrees and then just drive it. You got to warm it up. Everything has to work properly.
I thought that was for me, so I don't get into a cold car.
Yeah. No, I think you can probably blow the engine.
I think you're right. Well, how about for a beginner? What do you think are maybe like the top 3 or 4 tips from your book that people should know about?
I didn't get into real specifics as far as what to do if you're beginning. It's all going to depend on what kind of exercise program you're actually looking for. Not everybody wants to get into a bunch of strength training, even though I'm an advocate of it. And I think that regardless of what age or condition you are, it's perfect for you. But if somebody even just wants to get into a walking program, then start with a light walking program. Some people are in the condition where they can't even walk up the street. So, but they might try to go and walk a mile or something silly like that. So you do what you can. If you're looking to get into a strength training routine, then start with some light dumbbells. If you've not exercised, and let's just say you want to, I'm just going to bring it up because it's the first thing that pops out. If you're not used to exercising and you see a commercial for like P90X, that doesn't mean you can never do P90X.
Right.
But he's got a program out, I think it's P90, and it's the precursor to P90X. So maybe you would start with something like that and actually do the modified version. Like you see 3 people in a video, there's the guy in front and he's doing kind of right in the middle, or the woman in front, and you got somebody back there doing an advanced version and then somebody back there doing the modified version. You're kind of thinking, I don't want to do the modified version. They look silly. I'm better than that. But you're by yourself. There's really no shame. You may as well just do the modified version because the likelihood that you can hurt yourself by not doing it, is high. And even if you don't hurt yourself, you might give up. And so in some cases that can be worse.
Yep.
So the book, as far as what, just to finish answering your question, whatever it is that you're looking to do the beginner version of it. It's more important, in my opinion, that you condition yourself to slowly increase. If it takes you all year to be able to do P90X properly, but you do it the right way, your likelihood of getting injured or quitting is much less. Your likelihood of even going beyond that, going to P90X2, might even be higher because you did it the right way.
Correct.
But
Completely agree.
we live in a society that is based in instant gratification. We want what we want when we want it. And it's usually because we're emotionally attached to whatever it is we don't have.
Mhm.
So if we want to feel good about ourselves, but we don't, we'll usually take extreme measures to
Right.
try to find that relief as quickly as possible. And that's why I say there is an emotional component when it comes to well being. And that is why I say that balance really is the key to everything.
And you can't let yourself go for 5 or 10 years and expect to be in shape in 6 months.
Correct. That doesn't mean that nobody can, but
Right.
the likelihood that you will, well, we don't know that.
And I'm pretty sure, on the podcast, I always ask for a quote, and I think it was your quote that said, "If you're a beginner, train like a beginner."
Yeah, exercise like a beginner if you are, capital
Right.
R, a beginner.
Yeah. So, well,
So,
good.
and yeah.
All right, and I know you want to talk about, obviously the holidays are coming up here. We got some Thanksgiving is a couple days away, and to me that's the start of the season, right through Christmas. And uh, I eat pretty well. I stay away from the candies and the cookies and the pies and stuff. But we were talking before we came on, and I look at a pile of turkey. Hey, it's healthy for me, right? I can eat twice as much. The vegetables, the mashed potatoes, and I eat way more than I should. But again, I stay away from the pies and the cookies, but I'm certainly not doing myself any favors by eating way too much. So, uh, what do you think about the holidays, and what tips do you have for us?
I think my perspective might be a little, I'm going to come from an alternate angle. See, I would look at somebody like you who probably regularly takes care of themselves. You exercise. And I would probably say to somebody like you, just have your day because you're not like that the rest of the time. And I don't think that we should live a life where we deprive ourselves. I don't think it's healthy to stuff yourself silly. But for somebody who takes care of themselves, if there is no emotional component and you're likely to get up the next day and go back to your normal routine and exercise, then just don't make anything of it. But for people where that's not the case, and I'm going to say that's probably the majority of the population, don't deprive yourself. I think deprivation is that thing that creates an inner war. And when you're at war with yourself, nobody wins. So I would say practice some balance. So if you want to eat everything on the table, then maybe give yourself like 20 minutes after one plate and see how you feel. And also tell yourself, there are ways to like trick your mind too. Just tell yourself, it's not that I can't have any more. It's just I don't really need to do it right now. It'll totally be there later. You might get up from the table. Is it worth it? You might ask yourself, is it worth it for me to get sick to my stomach? Do I like the way that feels? You can do stuff like that. You can just think of things from a completely different angle. That's what I've done. I've talked about the whole all or nothing mode when it comes to health and fitness. I mean, when somebody wants to lose weight, they're in all mode. They're like the warrior. They're that eye of the tiger, And then you're not in that mode anymore. And then you're like in nothing. You're in nothing mode.
Mhm.
I say there's no need to yo-yo. You can find something in the middle. So for people, in order to have a nice, successful Thanksgiving, I would say get up that morning. If you're not like spending all your time in the kitchen, go for a walk. Make sure you're hydrated throughout the day. Keep your blood sugar stable because this with the blood sugar, that's not going to do you any favors either. And I'd be willing to make a bet that probably a ton of people out there are diabetic. I mean, more and more people are diabetic now.
Absolutely. It's going to be a crisis, I think, that people are like, I just can't stay away from the sugars.
Yeah, well, it's staying away from the sugars, but it's actually just keeping your normal blood sugar stabilized throughout the day. You're teaching your pancreas not to work efficiently.
Right.
So you basically what that is it's an abuse of the body and it no longer functions properly any longer.
Right. And we're talking about stabilized. We're not talking about stabilized. Stabilized with a nice even level.
Yeah, like don't approach. I know what it's like. I used to do it. I think I was like 18, 19, 20, and it was like, I'm not going to eat anything until it's time to eat Thanksgiving dinner, and then I'm going to gorge. Well, that's got consequences. So that's something I would tell people. Make sure you keep your blood sugar stabilized throughout the day. Try to get a little bit of movement. And if you can't do it that day, do it the day before, do it afterwards. And, make sure you eat. If you're going to eat a bunch at dinner time or something, then eat smaller nutrient dense meals up till a few hours beforehand so that you don't sit at that table starving. And if you find that any of these simple tips are tough to deal with, then that's the time to ask yourself, what am I emotionally attached to about this holiday, and how's it working for me?
Now you talk about emotional attachment. Are you talking about like, I'm 30 years old and I grew up in a family that we always had, food at Thanksgiving. So this is what this is what I'm supposed to do on Thanksgiving. I've always done it this way. I'm going to continue doing it this way.
That's part of it. When you don't ever question your own thoughts or your own habits, then there's a likelihood that you're emotionally attached to them. And when you're emotionally attached to your own thoughts and habits, they own you. Mm-hmm. So it's really just, look, if there are no consequences about to happen in your life from an activity, then this most likely wouldn't apply to you. But for most people, because weight is a big problem for people, it's not just a little fraction of the population. We're talking about the majority of the population at this point.
Right,
has
absolutely.
serious weight issues. And it's not even like 20, 30 pounds anymore. You're talking like hundreds of pounds. Mm-hmm. So that would lead me to believe that common sense is not part of the equation. There's an emotional component that has taken place. There's like an energetic component that has taken place. The thing that you're addicted to literally owns residence. It takes up residence in your mind. And you have to kind of step back from that and say, all right, this is where I am. If I were to try to make a change, how would that make me feel? Oh, I'm uncomfortable because I like to be able to feel free enough to sit at this table and eat as much as I want when I want it. Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. At least you were honest. Well, how's that working for you? Oh, it's not working for me at all. I'm sick. I'm on medications. I hate my life. I feel disgusting. Oh, okay. Well, if it's not working for you, but you're emotionally attached to it, why might you be that way? What do these things represent to you? And the thing is people don't necessarily have to make a change in anything right away. Mm-hmm. I think that we feel pain and it's like, ooh, I immediately have to fix it. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe it would be better to see what the source of the pain was. Mm-hmm. What are your habits? Why do you think the way you do? Why do you look at things the way you do? Where have your habits been formed? And how do you feel about what kind of resistance is coming up within you when you think about making a change? Because that tells you everything. So I like to try to talk to people about self-awareness, questioning their own thoughts, their own attachments, their own perspectives, and challenging them. What if I looked at things differently? What if I can actually have what I wanted, but I can have it differently? I can have it to where it doesn't own me. So, and I speak from experience. I've been that person. I've been over 200 pounds. I've had every eating disorder there is. So this isn't like something I went to school and learned. It's something that I have lived. I've had to ask myself these very questions and do these very exercises that I talk about, as far as kind of getting in touch with why you look at things the way you do.
Mm-hmm. And it's something you've overcome. Do you still, I mean, not suffer, but do you still feel like, do you still fight it, I guess, is my question? Or are you at the point now where you've gone beyond it and you completely eat for health and you know what you have to do?
I have no problem with it. None. And the reason is because I actually at one point made a decision that I was sick of being sick. It's not fun to be a victim of your own mind.
Was that a sudden decision, or is it something you came to gradually and worked it out?
It's something that it like took place in stages. It's like one epiphany. I think, you know what? I think that people don't ask the right questions. I asked the right questions. And if you ask the right questions, you will receive insight. And then
Ask
it
the right
becomes
questions of yourself or of somebody else?
Of yourself. There was this one time I had started one of my many little fitness programs, and I was like, this was before I even went to Fitness Institute, and I was like, oh gosh, what do I eat now? I was like, how do I eat so that I don't screw up this last hour I have just spent exercising? Well, I didn't like most foods. I didn't like most healthy foods. I was a very finicky eater. But I posed the question anyway because I was frustrated, and I stood there, and I kid you not, it like showed up like that. It was like, you won't feel bad about eating if you can find a way to make it so that food is not your enemy. So if food is not your enemy and it becomes your friend, and the guilt is taken away from it, because when you feel guilty about something, you create that war. So I thought about that. I was like, yeah, that's true. I'd have to make food my friend. How do I make food my friend? Well, if you eat things that are good for you more times than not, then food is your friend. Then when you eat, you know you're doing something good for yourself. So you couldn't possibly feel any guilt if you're doing something good for yourself. That got me excited about the stuff that I now eat regularly that I wouldn't touch. I was like 36 or 35 or something like that. I wouldn't eat tomatoes, mushrooms, gosh, onions, peppers, so much spinach, no greens really, except maybe broccoli, no squash. Most of the foods that would be considered healthy, I had nothing to do with. But because I knew that guilt and healthy living could not go hand in hand, and that I might be at the mercy of an exercise program that I was going to eat my way out of if I didn't do something, I had to start questioning why I looked at food the way I did. And once I did that and I learned, oh, this does this for the body and this does that for the body, and oh, I want to eat and feel good about what I'm eating, I just have to find a way to enjoy it. It created this thing. It's like this allowing thing that you let into your life. And I hope I'm explaining this so that it's clear. But you start to allow new thoughts, new philosophies, new behaviors into your life. And that's what I did. So I actually got to be somebody that loved healthy food. I would ask myself questions like, okay, I'm hungry. Could I be just as satisfied with a roasted vegetable wrap as I would be with a cheeseburger? And eventually it got to a point where the answer was yes. So that was when I knew I was changing. And healthy living, when you've been sick or when you've been like at the mercy of your own thoughts and then your own body, the way to best get out of that is to literally become somebody that appreciates well-being. That's like this natural thing that starts to exude out of you, if that makes sense, rather than just a behavior you take to try to change who you are. It's a completely different approach. It takes a little bit more time. It does take, it takes more of an inner shift. But what's better? Changing a behavior that you might spend the rest of your life having to change, or taking the time to get to know yourself, making that inner shift, and eventually legitimately freeing yourself from those chains that have taken up space in your mind and owned your behaviors.
I think too many people don't think about that. That they just go and they continue doing what they're doing. They never give themselves the opportunity to think about what they need to do or what they need to become, and they just do what they've always done every single day. Same thing in the morning. They eat the same things. They drink the same things, and never take the time to sit and say, "Wait a second, I can change. I need to change. I better change."
Yeah, it can be a pleasant experience. I know what it's like to wake up and so I gotta go on a diet.
Yeah,
And
I hate that word diet. It's it's a way of eating. It's not a diet because people like you said, they have that mental image of suffering and you know torturing themselves by not being hungry and going to bed hungry and waking up hungry. It's not like that at all.
Right.
Healthy, you're fine.
Right. So I try to show people, I guess, what I call the path of least resistance. You're going to have people that are going to be naturally drawn toward running a marathon or competing in a figure competition. And then you're going to have other people that might be perfectly satisfied with just being able to do a good, solid fitness walk for a half an hour, 5 to 6 days a week. And if you have this concept in your head where you believe what health and fitness is only because of what you're being told by the outside, but you don't go within and start asking yourself questions like, well, what would be fun for me?
Mhm.
What would keep me consistent with this in a way that it feels natural? Then you'll probably fail,
Right.
or you'll just spend your life fighting with yourself.
Completely agree. Up and down, up and down.
And that all or nothing mode sucks because when you're in the all mode, it's usually because something hurts you really bad.
Mhm.
So you're really motivated because you're trying to get away from the pain, or you're
Right.
trying to run towards something that represents so much pleasure that it certainly beats where you are now.
Mhm.
But then once that's been settled, then what? Most people don't have a problem taking the weight off. Most people have a problem keeping the weight
Keeping it
off.
up. Right.
So it's that yo-yo effect.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I was so happy where I was, but then I lost all motivation. Well, you don't have to lose the motivation. Don't worry about getting motivated. You can stay motivated by actually just being true to yourself.
Mhm.
But you might need to change who yourself is.
Right.
And that's some hard work.
Completely agree with you. You certainly got to change. It's not a 6-week thing. It's not a 6-month thing. You need to change the way you are, the way you eat, your activities, maybe even the people you hang around with.
Probably so.
You talk about the emotional attachment, and for instance, I like coffee. I like to drink coffee. I drink too much caffeine, but for me, a lot of it is just I just enjoy it. I enjoy sitting with people and drinking it. I love just relaxing with it, and luckily it's not that unhealthy for me. But I can certainly see if it was, cake time every day, it would be hard for me to break away from that.
And I would tell somebody like you, somebody who is naturally into health and fitness or just doesn't have a problem, to enjoy your coffee. If it doesn't own you, then enjoy it. We're not supposed to be here to deprive ourselves. We're not supposed to be here to restrict ourselves. That only happens when we've abused something.
Mhm.
So if we can become people who don't abuse things, then we don't have to quit things.
Right. But I guess my point is that, to me, coffee, not so much the caffeine. I like the caffeine in the morning, but I have the emotional attachment to sitting and drinking a cup of coffee. I can sit here and drink with friends. I can go with family and drink coffee. And so, like I said, if it was something else, like if it was, apple pies, I could see where I would have a hard time getting rid of the apple pies because it's just what I love to do it so much that if it was that unhealthy for me, I would really have a real hard time breaking away from that.
I like apple pie too.
Right.
But you know what I do? I create my own. I take apples. I go to my local farmer's market. I buy. Right now, they're selling like these giant bags of apples. They're called like Boo Boo Basket apples. There might be a bruise or something on it, but seriously, I go and I get like some amazing amounts of locally grown or semi-locally, naturally grown produce for like dollars, because it's bumped and bruised and whatever. I take the apples, I cut them up, put them in a pot, and I put in there some organic coconut palm sugar, which is very low glycemic. It's got a high mineral content to it. Maybe a little bit of locally processed honey, water, cinnamon, and this time of year I throw some nutmeg in there. And I cook it for like 15 minutes on high, and then I take it off the stove and just kind of let it do its thing. And then instead of eating an apple pie, I take my apples, which I've cooked myself, made with organic, natural ingredients. I know exactly what's in them, and I'll eat it for dessert.
Sounds great. Like I said, low sugar, low glycemic index. So,
And I don't even worry about the sugar.
mhm.
I know that I'm good. I'm putting stuff in my body. I'd have a harder time with that if it told me it was 100 calories and I didn't know what was in it. I'd rather it be 200 calories and at least I know what's in it.
Right.
And then maybe I'll make up for it in some other way. But I think that guilt and food should not belong together. And as long as they do, I think that someone's going to have a problem. There's a time and place for everything.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I have shared in a story. It's funny. I shared in one of my blog posts. I had like have this thing. I used to have this thing for cake. I loved cake. Oh my! I'd go to my local grocery store. I'd buy myself literally an entire round birthday cake just for me. The woman even asked me once. She's like, "You want me to make this out to anybody?" Like, I wish. you know. Yeah, sure. Happy birthday, fat. It wasn't even my birthday. But now it's like I look back on that and it was because I couldn't get enough of what I didn't want.
Mhm.
Now, and it's only because I changed my mind, I know that that is available at any given time. I don't have to think about stuff like that. And now if I go and it's somebody's birthday, I can have a slice and literally my body will not let me have another one.
Mhm.
And I care nothing about it. I have no attachment to it whatsoever. I enjoyed that. I'm sure I'll have it again.
I'm exactly the same way. And I feel, I think it's good that, after I have the cake, and not guilty in a bad way, but if I have a piece of cake or a piece of pie, and I rarely don't, I really do, I should say. But then afterwards, I'm like, I didn't enjoy that. I don't want it again, and it keeps me going.
hmm
Um, so I don't do it all the time.
hmm What I have to say, and what I've been saying, I actually don't know if it's marketable. See, I've realized there's the health and fitness that's marketable, and then there's the health and fitness that is just from a completely different angle, and I come at it from a different angle. I think that what you learn about in the traditional health and fitness, your exercise programs and all of the nutrition stuff, I think they're all very, very healthy and handy, but I don't think that they're absolute. I think that they're relative. And I think that people should be able to find what works best for them
Mhm.
and follow the path of least resistance. And just because you see pictures of fitness models, that's not to say that might not be inspirational. It might be very motivational for people to look at stuff like that. And if it motivates someone to get into shape to go do that, then that's great, but it's not absolute.
Mhm.
What's absolute for someone, which is really relative, might be for them to be able to just drop the excess stuff and be able to fit into single digit clothing
Right.
without being as sculpted as everybody else.
Mhm.
They might not need to take the same extreme measures as someone else, but it would be up to them to get in touch with who they are and decide that for themselves rather than believe something they see on a billboard or read in a magazine or something like that. I mean,
Right.
we're surrounded by thought suggestions. It's our job to observe it, question it, and find out how we relate to it.
Right. I think so many people, and this is the example I use all the time. People say, I got to go get in shape, so I got to start running. And you see these people who are overweight, running down the road, obviously miserable, and they're not going to see them out there the following week. And, they don't, for some reason, people have, well, and not for some reason, it's because this is what you see in a magazine, like I said, the billboards, whatever. To be healthy, you got to go run. And you don't have to be. You got to find what you want to do. Try running. If you don't like it, try bicycling. If you don't like it, try yoga. If you don't like it, and find what you want to do so that you continue that for the rest of your life. And you know
Mhm.
what you like today and for the next 6 months might not be something you're going to like the 6 months after that. But don't feel like you're pigeonholed into that one type of exercise, and that's the be all and end all of exercise and fitness. Because if you pick up a magazine, that's what you see. This is how I got to do it. That's not true.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And I'm in that place right now. For the longest time I was into, like your basic strength training, the dumbbells, the resistance bands, TRX band, that kind of thing, body weight, whatever. Lately, I just have not been into that. And I find that if I try to force myself to do something I'm not into, I'll find every reason in the world not to do it.
Right.
So I've had to ask myself, I take my own advice. I've had to ask myself, well, what would I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
If it means I keep moving, what would I want to do? Well, lately I've been interested in yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't even know why, I just feel like doing yoga. So you know what? I started doing some yoga videos and I don't dread it. I actually enjoy it. It's keeping me moving. That's probably what my body is actually craving without me trying to intellectualize my way out of what my intuition is really telling me. And instead of telling myself, this is what you should do, it's like, oh, this is what you want to do. Okay, then do it. And that's what I would tell other people, when it comes to the whole getting in shape thing. What do you want to do? Have you ever wanted to learn to dance? Have you ever wanted to learn a martial art? Have you ever wanted to run a marathon? And if those are the things that you want to do, whatever it is that, makes you feel like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, then go ahead and start at the beginner's level.
That's right.
That's what I would tell people to do. So Thanksgiving, try to get some movement in whatever way you can. I don't care if you do 10 minutes on a yoga mat for beginners. Just do something, just like to connect to the process. Mm-hmm. Keep your blood sugar stable and go ahead, have your little Thanksgiving thing and maybe ask yourself, can I wait on the seconds? It's probably going to be around later. In fact, I'll probably be eating this for days. So do I need to eat a second helping right now? And, an accompanying question of, how do I feel with heartburn and indigestion? Do I like that? It's usually what follows. Is it worth it for me to feel that way after I've already long enjoyed my second portion in between the third and fourth and fifth portion that's going to take place tonight and tomorrow? Stuff like that. And start asking, we're going to go into December. There's going to be parties and festivities and offices that are going to be filled with candy and mm-hmm. chocolates and cookies and little chocolate Santas and stuff. And, what worked best for me was I gave myself one day of the week that I was like, today is my day to pig out. And you know what happened? That day would come, and if I didn't feel like it that day, I didn't care.
All right.
Because I took away the restriction. So the idea is if you can picture what it might feel like to already be in this habit, when you wake up on New Year's morning and you're like, I don't have to change today. I'm already the change I want to make. Today, I just continue on.
Right. That's a great point. I like that. You're right.
And that was an exact thought that I had. That was an exact thought that I had. So everything that I say, these are all things that I've done, and they're the only things that have ever actually worked for me and have kept me consistent in a time when I used to yo-yo. So, but again, it's not a traditional take on things, but I think it's effective.
Right. And you talk about the holidays too. I think that, if somebody's coming to the point now where they're saying, I need to get in shape, you know what, maybe don't start now. Kind of limit yourself over the holidays and start after the holidays, because if you try to start now, you're going to feel like a failure because Thanksgiving is going to come. And like you said, you go to the office and you got the cookies and stuff, and you're going to fail there, and you're going to fail at Christmas time. You're going to fail at New Year's. If you can just try to limit yourself and say, okay, after the holidays, then I'm really going to get down to it, because you hate to start off and fail and fail and fail and fail.
And here's the kicker. You and I and every other fitness expert or whatever you call us, could sit around and come up with all these tips. But ultimately, people do what they feel they need to do. Yeah. You can only hope that you might say something that somebody is listening one person, even if it's just one person. It's like, I just never thought of it that way before. But now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And it might change their life. And maybe then they'll be in a position to change somebody else's life. And that's really all we can hope for. Um, but sometimes it has to hurt really, really bad, and you don't want to see people in pain, and you put out whatever information you can, and you hope you're doing right by your fellow man and woman, but underneath it all, you can't make anybody do anything. All you can do is share your story and do what you can, and that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Set an example. When I go to work, I think that, like I said, I don't eat cookies. I mean, very rarely. It's not that I don't, but very, very rarely. And, once people in the office know I don't eat that, then number one, next time somebody comes by with something that really looks great to me, I'll say, no, thank you, because I don't want to, they know that I don't eat that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then also I hope that they say, no, thank you. I'm going to pass today also. And, just set the example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's all we can do, and you hope that one person catches on and thinks twice about it.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said, that the way to change the world is to be the best possible version of yourself.
Right.
And actually set that example. So, but again, the only people you ever have control over is yourself.
That's right.
And I think that we're all here to live in the same environment, see things differently, and express it differently. Mm-hmm. And I think our job is to try to kind of help each other expand. So this is, I guess, my take on the health and fitness aspect of things. This is my story. This is where I've come from. This is my education. Nobody's going to see it the way I do. I'll never see it the way you do. But perhaps there might be something I will say that will help you look at things in a way that will maybe encourage that inner shift. Mm-hmm. And who knows what might happen. But I'll tell you this much. Real change happens from the inside out. It'll never happen any other way. And so this is what more than anything, this is what I talk about.
Mm-hmm. And you come from a great background. I mean, you can relate to, or people can relate to you because you have the eating issues, and you've overcome it and moved on, and they can say, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck here.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't afraid of it anymore. It was kind of like, I'm actually sick and tired of this. I was like, I'm so done with this. I don't want this anymore. It's so all consuming. You get to a point when you actually know what it feels like to have an independent mind, at least on some degree. Mm-hmm. When something takes ownership of you here, you feel it like acutely, and you don't like it, and you're like, no, I don't want that. I don't want this thing to own me. So
right. Self-mastery. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it comes in phases, but
well, we can just work on it. We're never going to be perfect. We spend our whole life working on it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, well, great. It's been awesome talking with you. So.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun. I appreciated being invited. It was fun to do the video, and maybe we can do this again.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we do this almost every Tuesday. For the most part, we do on Tuesdays. Anytime, if you want to be a third person, feel free. I mean, we're always here.
Okay, cool.
Or if you just want to come on occasionally, that's fine too.
Yeah, that's great. I like to talk to new people, and I learn stuff. Maybe I'll say something that somebody else will get something from. I look at the world as filled with unlimited possibilities. So you never know. All you got to do is show up.
That's right. Absolutely.
Unless you're sick or you have relatives in town. So
that's right. You mentioned you're starting a coaching program.
I am. Yeah, I haven't quite put it together yet. That's just that's all that technical stuff of starting with all that. But I am looking to put together a couple different versions of that.
Do you have like an email mailing list so people can come and they'll be notified of your once you get it going?
Yes, if they go to my website, which is called IamMyImagination.com. and they can sign up. There's a little bar at the top, and they can put their email address in. And I'm working on getting all of this together, and I'd like to have that ready hopefully before the year is over. Yeah. So, the blog is filled with the same kinds of stuff that you and I discussed here. I talk about on this blog. So, it just kind of further hones in on everything that we've talked about. So that's what I would tell people to do. Sign up for the blog, and I'll keep everybody posted on what's going on. I'm going to have a couple different options available. I know everybody's not in the same financial position, and I want to make sure that nobody feels left out.
Yeah.
So
great. And definitely, I've been to your site several times. A lot of information there. I like it.
Thank you. I've only had it up for a couple of months, and I'm the webmaster and everything. So
I mean, I do the same thing myself, and it's actually daunting trying to do it.
Oh gosh,
I wish I just had enough money to say, "Here, do it for me." So maybe someday.
Eventually, and the writing too. Eventually, I'm going to get to a point. I'm going to be so big. It'll be like, all right, I'm going to pay you for my plugins. I'm going to pay you to edit my articles. You're going to redesign my logo.
Yeah, I'm just going to come out and talk about fitness. That's all I want to do.
And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to drink my organic coffee, and I'll chat with Tom, and we'll just talk about fitness.
That's right. That's the way to do it. That's our goals.
Exactly.
And great. And so your book, Exercise Safety: What You Don't Know Can Hurt You, is available on your website and on Amazon.
Yeah, a simple guide to exercise safety. What you don't know can hurt you, and it sure can.
Absolutely.
Simple stuff too. Yes, it's available on my website, Amazon.
Great. All right. And I'll share this link. Once this is over, YouTube processes it, and then I'll send you the link, so you can share the link to this whole thing. People can watch it whenever. It'll be up forever.
Forever, great.
Well, until YouTube, as long as YouTube's out there. I think that's going to be quite a while at this point.
Oh, cool. I'll get a really good idea of what I look like. I can only see my little picture. So. May or may not share it.
Because I've started the broadcast, I have you as the big picture. So when people watch this, they're going to see you as the big picture and me as a small picture.
Oh, okay. All right. I only see me as the small picture, and it's like, all right, well, I did put makeup on, so.
Well, you're actually the big picture. And I can change it. I can change it so that, now I'm the big picture. But usually when we have conversations, I go back and forth. But because you're doing a lot of the talking, you're the guest, I left you as the big picture. So that's our video.
I did do a lot of the talking. That probably wouldn't surprise my husband.
Well, that's because you're the guest. That's what I have you here for.
It's true.
All right, so it was great talking with you, and I'll certainly get the link out to you, and I'll share the link also. And I put it out to my group, and obviously, people have, I got to do this, I got to do that, but they'll watch it afterwards, so it's just good.
It's all good.
All right.
Thank you for inviting me, Tom, and for everything. I appreciate it. This has been fun.
It's been a lot of fun, and certainly if you want to come back, let me know. And have a great Thanksgiving and a great Christmas.
All right, you too.
All right, yeah. Take care.
Take care.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.